IT service management tools and technologies. So you might get an idea just from the topic, the kinds of things that we would discuss in here. How can the service desk, how can those people, what tools can they employ to actually make their job better? Can you guys see me? I looks like my looks like the maybe that's just like you guys, right? I mean, I have it plugged in, but I don't know if it's working. Um, so maybe I didn't join with the video. I don't know. Maybe you don't want to see me. I don't know. You can hear me though, right? Let's see. Chat, what's going on?
Hello.
Yeah, okay. Jason says you can see. No, we cannot see you. Oh, okay. All right. Well, you can hear me though, right? So my cam's not on. Yeah, I can see it's not on. So I don't know why that is.
Hello, sir.
Hi. So I'm going to um, unshare this, I suppose, or well, let's see why it's not on. There we go. Start video. Maybe if I did that. Oh, it says that Zoom's unable to detect the camera. Okay. All right. So I can see that the camera is on, and let's go ahead and start this topic. Um, I should share the screen again. Share, and away we go. So the topic being about ITSM tools and technologies. You probably have used, well, you have used some of these technologies, and some of them you would have come across in your studies because you are IT hardware students. So you've come across some vendors such as Citrix and Windows and VMware, etc. Microsoft. So you've come across some of these products, I hope. Also, you've probably been using some virtual PCs on a server. I think that some of the courses that you have are taught that way. So but I want you to look at it this topic, which, as I said, you've probably come across a little bit before, in the context of the service desk. So, in the context of the service desk, we want to remotely support our customers who we're providing a service for. So, how can we be in the service desk and support them using the technologies that we have? What are some technologies that will help us to reach out to customers at some distance from us and provide a support to them? So that's what we want to keep that in that context. How do we want to have some tools that will monitor what's going on in the network, going on with with our customer applications and hardware, so that we can know how it's performing without having to go around there manually and check it. So that's monitoring activities. Security is always an issue, right? Is always an issue. If you, especially the more sort of distributed your systems are, you got people out around a very different geographical dispersion of people and equipment. You've got all kinds of opportunities for security issues, and so we need to talk about that. Then we need to also discuss this technical term of thin clients, and how do we use thin clients, and why are they good and why are they not good? And so that's basically what this lesson is about. And I hope that you'll sort of get those ideas and you'll be able to. Now, at the end of this lesson, the very sort of last 3 slides, there is an activity for you guys to do. So I want you to keep that in mind. Got a little activity for you to do. It's kind of a group activity, so you might want to be thinking about a group that you could have. Some of you you're already in group for the project. So, I mean, you could use that, but I don't mind you having a bigger group for this little activity that we're going to do at the end of this lesson. So the idea here, so we got a few slides on this remote support technologies. So what we mean by that is support is technologies that allow the service desk people to support a customer at a distance without actually having to travel to that site and work on that equipment there. And so we have some technologies that allow us to do that. You know, we can use the phone, we can use email, we can use but more specialized and technical um, um, support we have as well. Oh yeah, and I thought that's kind of an important thing that's happened in just the last year, right? And that is mentioned there on that slide, the last point. We've had this global pandemic. Global pandemic means social distancing. Wouldn't it be good if we can do a lot of our computer work without actually having to go and sort of talk to people and endanger them, or endanger ourselves, or endanger the world with sort of microbes that, the viruses. Different people have different definitions of a microbe. It's not a bacteria; it's a virus. Yeah, so it doesn't live on its own. That's kind of the difference between. Anyways, I don't want to give a biology lesson, but we need to be able to work in a different way because of the pandemic, and it's kind of interesting. And I don't know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I won't say it's sort of coincidental or whatever. But it is at a time in the world where we actually are able to do that. We're able to do a lot of this work without actually having to physically go around and visit machines and stuff like that. Just happens to be, isn't that interesting? Um, so there is the need to for service desks to provide a support from a distance. And so, what are some of the tools that we can use to do that? So we can use these kind of tools: remote control systems, remote monitoring systems, self-healing systems, and software distribution systems. And each of these, we've got a couple of slides on each of those. And so let's just talk about those. Now, the IT support here at the college, the North Atlantic, they're directly below my office. These people, when they do updates on computer hardware and software, they're using this remote assistance, which tool that's provided on their Microsoft server. And so for example, they're pushing out Microsoft updates. Now, actually, Microsoft itself does that, don't they? But they are also they can take control of the computer, and you can see you give them the control, and they will go, and you'll see them clicking things. If you're looking at your screen, you can see that they're actually controlling it, and they can see your screen and work on your computer while not leaving their office. And so they have these tools that allow them to do that. So it's not just these other things which we're probably familiar with: transferring files, collaborating with documents, all those things we can do with the tools that you're familiar with. Um, Office 365 has tools that allow us to do all those things, right? We can, with Office 365, we can have a place where we share files, where a group of people can all work on the same file, all with not ever coming in contact with each other. We can put up documents that people can read for training, etc. So all of these things, there's many different sort of tools that help us to do that. One that I think is particularly interesting, I suppose, is the fact that you can sit in an office downstairs in the IT support and actually work on somebody's computer as if you were sitting at it with their mouse, because you have actually taken control of their operating system from a remotely. Um, Now, the benefits, I hope you can see the benefit of that. We just mentioned that, yeah, so we don't have to travel and go to that point. It's going to have a faster, we hope, resolution of issues. Um, yeah, there's this prompt to confirm connection whenever they've done things like this. Where I have had it is, I will put in a ticket to the people downstairs, and I'll say, I want to have this software installed on my computer, and they're controlling it. They got central control. So they got that remote control access to my computer, and they have central control. I cannot install um, application programs onto my computer. I cannot do it. I have to get them to do it. And so I'll ask them to do it. And I'm sure you can think of reasons why that is, right? They have hundreds of IT instructors that they have to deal with. If everybody was installing whatever software they wanted onto their computers, pretty soon it would become impossible to actually support it. There would be software on those computers that the people downstairs didn't know about, and didn't know the actual effects of it and how it interacts with other software. So you could get a real big problem very, very quickly. So by keeping the control central to a small group of people, they control all the computers, the configuration of all the computers among the teaching staff. That means that they can more quickly solve and resolve issues, and so that they can keep a better control on the system in terms of the quality of the result that everybody's getting. Now, of course, that doesn't make all the teachers happy all the time, because we want to run some software on our computers, and there's always a get around, right? And so what you'll find a lot of the staff do is they'll bring in their own laptop computer, and we have a separate network connection for that. And I bring in my laptop computer because I want to use some software that is not available, and maybe I just come across it this morning, and I want it. I could ask them to install it, but I'm gonna have to wait a few hours for that. Um, but remote control systems are going to give you that control. But as along with the control, we have to have some security. They When they're installing software on my computer, they don't have to, because these guys, they have admin rights. They can sort of overwrite my work, but they will ask me to sort of let them in there. Um, Now, this other point here, this is a separate idea. So we had the remote control systems. This remote monitoring system, the idea there is that you can run software on your server and on the clients throughout the network that you have, and including even equipment that you don't think of necessarily as running software all the time. So like your servers and your switches, you can install software on these that will report back to the server on the status of um, that particular piece of hardware in the network, or on the status of the network traffic that is coming to and fro from that piece of hardware. And so that allows you to get a consolidated sort of data from which you can see trends on the stability of your network and your applications throughout the system that you have. So that's your remote monitoring systems. From that, you could, if the system starts to get sort of a little bit out of control, you'll get a report come back, which will be similar to having an incident raised by a customer, except this is an incident which is raised by the system, by the monitoring system, will trigger an incident. And so a ticket will be opened, because when we say trigger an incident, what we're talking about is something that's going to end up in an incident management system. So that's going to create a ticket, and then that ticket is going to be used to get resolution of that incident. So remote monitoring systems are going to give us information that we otherwise wouldn't have about our systems. All right. So and it's the trends sort of thing, right? It's not just going to be sort of one-off sort of major problems. Little trends, we're going to be able to see those trends arising, and we'll be able to see the direction of it, and therefore cut off the problem before it becomes something big. And so it's kind of a neat thing having these remote monitoring systems. And actually, that little image in the corner there is not just a random image. That is SolarWinds technology, which runs on the cloud. And you can use that to help you with your network, and it will give you all kinds of reports on what's going on in your network. That's kind of cool. All right, so SolarWinds. Yeah, SolarWinds was in the news last week. Check that out. Have a look and see what was happening at SolarWinds last week. It wasn't good news for them. Anyways, I'm not going to say. You guys go and look at that and see what you can figure out. McAfee, now McAfee or McAfee or McAfee. I think the guy's name is John McAfee, and it's a real person. He lives in California, and he started out his IT career, like, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, um, with virus, when the first viruses started being produced, and we were using the floppy disks in computers. He started with his software company to detect and destroy viruses in the very much simpler computing systems that we had those days. And so he's been doing that for a long time, and he's actually sort of his company has evolved with computing, and so he's got online solutions that you can sort of subscribe to. And so then when your computer sort of connects to this online server, the application will scan and fix your computer. That's what we call by self-healing. Self-healing is that the software itself will identify and then fix issues as they arise. And a virus sort of antivirus can work with that. Now, I'm being asked a question about the group. So I think if you, I don't know if you've got this PowerPoint open. It is there. You can download it. But the last 3 slides, it does talk about the exercise, and I think it says a group of 3 people. But yeah, three sound good. Another image from SolarWinds over here in the left of your screen, and you can see all the nice little graphics and everything there, and it's talking about quality of experience, and we've got all the nodes. The nodes would be things like your switches and your switches and routers on your system. Switches, if it's an internal network, right? Routers only if you're going externally to the world. So it's going to give you sort of information on how that traffic is going. And once you've had a bit of experience with your particular computer network, you'd have an idea what would look normal in terms of those graphs. And when you sort of see spikes like that, that might get you sort of thinking, oh, what's going on there and what sort of systems were started then and what's going on. And it would give you an idea of what you need to look at to sort of fix things. So this is response time. We see response time jumped up here at 8 o'clock in the morning. So maybe some system started. That would be something that I would watch on a daily basis then to make sure that that sort of didn't get too out of control. Maybe we've got a sort of a threshold where we say, well, once it rises above that that level, we need to do something to intervene. Software distribution systems. Now, what's we have to sort of try and be current, and because you guys are young, this just like what do I want to say? It's just like what I'd say meat and potatoes or something. It's just bland and mundane to you that, oh yeah, everybody's got software distribution system. I haven't used any sort of physical way of distributing software forever. And that's right. Yeah, because like in the last 5 years, this has happened, right? I mean, you won't remember back in the day when we used to go and buy 5 CDs. That would, and then we'd use those to install our operating system. So nowadays, what you do is you go and buy a little number, and then that number, well, you don't even go and go. I mean, you're on your computer, you connect to the internet, and you go to the Microsoft site and say, well, I think I better have Office 365, so I'll navigate to Office 365, and there's a thing. Where do you live? And okay, so pay 500 reals or 365 reals. So now you got Office 365 for the next year, and they will just push that software out for you. So nowadays, really, software is being distributed over networks, and you are familiar with that. And not just your basic bland software, but even operating systems as well. Now, from a business point of view, working in a business, you got your software that you don't really want the rest of the world sort of seeing or getting a hold of, and so that's going to have to be done in a secure way. Ideally, if you've got an intranet, a network where everybody's in the same sort of physical location, would be good, or else maybe you're using some kind of virtual private network, then you can sort of secure that. Otherwise, you might have to do some kind of encrypting before you start distributing your software over a network. But you will be distributing it over a network. Pretty sure of that. Now, so when you're monitoring things that are happening over a network in terms of the software and the hardware out there, you are going to realize some incidents, some outages. And so what are you going to do about that? As it says there, you're going to have some kind of restore situation where you maybe you're going to restore data back to a previously backed up point, or you're going to restore a service back to a backed up point. Then after that, you're going to have to sort of analyze what's going on. so that we can see if this is a problem that needs some kind of update to the system, some kind of change management intervene as well. So that stuff that we talked about in those previous chapters, that sort of comes into play at this point. If you're doing your professional service management, then you're going to need to manage this in a systematic way. So you're going to do your root cause analysis on the information that's brought to you by your monitoring systems. Okay. And so that information can be given to you in a graphical way. There's another SolarWinds diagram down there in the bottom right. And from that, from the graphs and the colors of the bars, etc., they're all information for the service management people that they can look at that and see. In every case, what they're looking for is the system in control, or has it swerved a little bit out of control so that we need to make an intervention? And as it says there can be lots of reasons why the system starts to behave slightly out of control, and this information will help us to establish what those are. Service level. We've talked about that term in terms of service level management, right? Service level. So we have service levels associated with the applications that we're hosting on our networks or that we're running and that we're supplying, servicing. And yeah, so those things we want to sort of keep an eye on. And at the ITSM, we're going to information technology service management people at the service desk, we're going to keep an eye on those. Okay, so that brings us to this topic of security. There's a couple of videos here. I'm sorry, this video is kind of like from last year. WannaCry is even sort of before that. I'm not going to show you the videos because that's going to take like 6 minutes, but the links are to the videos, and I'm going to encourage you to watch those links. But the first one, I'll just tell you what's in that video, something to look forward to. So basically, it's just a couple of IT guys talking, and this is in January last year, and the IT guy says to what are the things you need to look out for this year, and then he starts talking about Windows 7 no longer being supported. The really important issue there about the Windows 7 not being supported anymore is that Microsoft systematically and carefully from time to time is pushing out patches to its operating systems. And a lot of the time, those patches are because of issues that have arisen in terms of the vulnerabilities. That is, there's kind of like a little a weakness in the software that has been exploited by some hackers, and this could cause a loss for our Windows using public. And because those Windows using public paid for that service and they're relying on the Microsoft people to give them a good service, Microsoft spends a lot of time and money and has the programmers keeping an eye, monitoring what's going on with the software around the world. And when a weakness is identified, then they'll go about and make a patch, and then they push that patch out. If it's severe enough, they'll push it out sort of like immediately they get it. Otherwise, they'll push it out in the next sort of um, they'll do a package patch on a regular basis, right? And they may have a couple of exploits that they've overcome with that update. So the issue with Windows 7 is that it's no longer supported by Microsoft, and so therefore the hackers have got free reign, right? They're going to go out there, they're going to find all kinds of exploits pretty quickly, and you can just imagine that Microsoft is just looking the other way. It's kind of like, that's you guys' problem. So that is you guys' problem. If you got Windows 7, you got a big problem because Microsoft's not going to help you. And so you need to sort of update to the latest software. So I'm giving the example of Windows 7 there because it's in the video, but it could be any operating system, right? You need to have that vendor support. And if that vendor support goes away, then you need to upgrade to a different system because, small establishments like any company here in Qatar just do not have the resources to be going about patching all the software from all the exploits of the hackers around the world. And so we do rely on the vendor um, to do that for us. Now the WannaCry, you may remember that. Basically, what was happening was this very bad. Would you call it a virus or worm? I'm not sure the technical term for it, but it was being pushed out through text messages around the world, right? And people receive a text message. They click on the text message. There's a link which would run this software, which would then go and lock down all of your data and in your hardware devices, like your hard drives, and you wouldn't be able to access it. Big problem, right? And so then you would get a message sort of saying, well, if you give so many, depending on the size of the business, they do their research on who's getting this, and you get this message which would basically say, give us so many hundreds of thousands of dollars or $1 million or whatever, and we'll give you back your data. Otherwise, sucks to be you. So yeah, that was ransomware WannaCry. Eventually, they did sort of come up with an anecdote, if you want to call it that, to that one as well. Um, to help us with the security, I'm sure you come across these ideas nowadays. Nowadays, with our mobile phones and stuff like that, we're using two-factor authentication. So you're going to have a password. But actually, what I've found is with your mobile phone, also, they're going to do facial recognition. I mean, we've gone so far. I mean, just these things that I'm saying now, nobody was talking about that, 10 years ago. So they're doing the facial recognition. So we got biometrics, right? And then they're doing a thumb recognition. Everybody knows that now. I think they even do some voice recognition stuff. So those kind of things do make things a little bit more secure, or at least it's secure enough that the banks think it's okay. I mean, we used to have our two-factor authentication. Our second factor would be this little fob which would create a number generator. Now those number generators are pushed out onto your phone. So I have one here. This is the one we use at the college, which is this Entrust. I won't show you my password, but so it produces a little number, and then I use that number when I log in, and I need that number. Now the banks are doing that too. But it used to be that you had to have a physical device, but I can't use this unless I use my biometrics to get it going as well. So yeah, that's kind of cool. So yeah, we have secure access control, identity management. That's kind of goes with that. How do we know that this is the right person? The biometrics is really, really ideal for that. We're going to run out of time in a minute. That message that just came up said that we got 10 minutes to go. So yeah, there's like 10 more slides. I don't think I'm going to sort of finish. So I think I think when we finish these slides on security, we'll end the lesson on that. Next lesson, we'll pick up with the thin clients and how those are sort of implemented. But let's just sort of finish this idea of security. One of the main features of computer security, and I'm sure you guys do a course in security, right? I mean, you could write me a big essay about computer security, I'm sure. So you probably got some ideas there that I'm going to miss. But one of the main features I'm sure that you come across is security is best in layers. And so an integrated threat management is going to take that into account and is going to use several layers of security to secure your devices. And so you can use a virtual private network. That's one sort of layer. You can use intrusion detection. You can use these things that I spoke to you about, identity management and two-factor authentication, all kinds of authentication management. You can have a security policy, which is very well set. As it says there, an automated security policy. Policies are really good. One of the other things about security that so layers is good. With networks, centralized is more secure than sort of dispersed. And so if you have a single policy, which is the same and implemented the same everywhere, that's one thing. But also if it's implemented from a single point. And I mentioned that point earlier in this lesson when we were talking about I can't install software onto my work computer because that is managed centrally. I'm going to leave off here. integration, automation, and the other slides we'll discuss in the next lesson. So remind me, we're going to start at lesson 19. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly skip through. And those are the things that we're going to talk about next lesson. And you can have a look at this activity. So teams of 3. And the idea is you've got some topics that you can research. What are these terms? Cryptojacking, form jacking, Antova, Samsam, and you're going to answer these questions regarding them. Well, this one is not regarding any of those things. Ransomware, we talked about that a little bit, but maybe you can find out a bit more about it. So do we have to submit a Word document? So number 6, present your findings to the group. You can use a chart paper or PowerPoint, etc. Okay, so group of 3, teams of 3. And so next lesson, what I'd like you to do is come with your little group of 3, and you'll have sort of 4 or 5 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever, how many minutes you need. And let's discuss those things. Oh yeah, what countries software most at risk? If you look at the next couple of slides, we got something about that, right? Look at that. That was, maybe that's changed because that was 2018. How do companies protect themselves? I'm sure you can do a little bit of research on that. That will be help you in your mind. Okay, so that's kind of what I want you to do. Let's absolutely, you can work in a team of 2. So that would be nice, actually, because some of you might be thinking, well, why don't I just stick with the team that I've already got, which is the one I'm using for the project? That's fine. Okay, that is fine. What I want to do is I want to get out of this. And so you've got something you can work on there. I'm going to check, has anybody come to the meeting that I haven't sort of shown here? Let's have a look at that. Participants, I got 13. Let's see. Is Alanud? Daryl? Yeah, Daryl's here. Faizan? Fatma? I got a Gwendolyn? Heza? What we got here? Khadija Kizar. Maya. I got Malik Myrna. Muhammad Qasim. All right, so I think I got everybody. So yeah, we are kind of running out of time. What was it? There was a reason I came I came out of that slide. Oh yes, let's have a quick look at the project. D2L. So if we go to, because today, or was it yesterday, right? You were supposed to submit something yesterday, and I gave you an extra day. So you guys will be working on that now. I gave you an extra day because you had a test today, and that was fair enough. So, but just looking ahead, this is looking ahead. You don't have to do this now, but you should be in your mind what's going to be the next point. So I'm just going to sort of get you thinking about that now. Let's look at our project. So today, we'll say this week, you have something that you're supposed to submit, which is the draft form of your website. And then next week, you're supposed to do a self-service page for your customers. Now, that's one of the customers. And look, oh, you got to do frequently asked questions, blogs, and video. Okay, so that should be on your mind as well, because that's what you're looking for next week. Okay, you need to make an incident management video on the self-service page. So you got a bit of work to do for next week. I'm giving you time on this thing so you can finish that this week, the thing on the website framework. Right, so any other questions?
Sir,